As most of you guys already know by now, I am completely obsessed with the 1960s black and white Twilight Zone episodes, right? So I'm watching this episode titled Young Man's Fancy, Season 3, Episode 34. And as you guys know, at the end of each Twilight Zone episode, there's always a plot twist. It's always something that you don't see coming. And that's why I love watching the Twilight Zone, because especially I can relate with the whole plot twist, the whole things don't make sense at the end, because that's exactly how it is when you wake up from the cult or Jehovah's Witnesses. This is a Twilight Zone episode, just waking up from the cult, because none of this makes sense. None of it makes sense. But before I go into this episode, right? Before I dive into this episode, and I want to share a personal experience, something that happened to me when I was younger, right? So, me and my younger brother, we were either 8 and 9 or 9 and 10, right? Somewhere between those ages. We had a whole bunch of toys, and we were bad kids growing up. We were some baddies, right? So we had a whole bunch of toys that we didn't want anymore, right? Now, I was born and raised in Harlem, New York City. We lived on the 16th floor at the time, right? So we had a whole bunch of toys that we no longer wanted. So what did we do? One by one, we started throwing the toys out the window from the 16th floor, right? True story. This is a true story. So one by one, we started throwing out toys. We must have thrown out at least a dozen toys, right? Maybe more, but minimum, at least a dozen. We rotating one by one. Just throwing the toys out the window, right? One by one. Next thing you know, my mom gets a call from the maintenance, from the landscaping who worked on the property. They said, hold on. They called my mom, right? They say, hey, there was a bunch of toys that was thrown out here, outside. Can you come and make sure that this could be your kids' toys? Because the window is facing where you guys live. And, yeah, can you just come down and verify just to make sure that these are not your boys' toys, right? So my mom, she gathered me and my brother, right? And we were nervous as hell, right? So she gathers me and my brother. She said, hey, let's go downstairs real quick, right? Because they made a complaint. So we go downstairs. My mom said, hold on. She said, aren't these the toys I bought you guys from Toys R Us? Me and my brother looked at each other, right? And we was like, no. She said, yeah, these are the toys I bought you guys from Toys R Us. What the hell you guys throwing them out the window? We got back upstairs, right? She beat the holy shit out of us. She beat the shit out of us, right? And I made sure that my brother, he got his whipping first, because by the time she came to me, I was hoping that she was out of energy, right? I was hoping that her arm was getting tired. No, she beat the shit out of both of us equally, right? The moral of the story is, we both learned to never do that ever again. That is a memory when I look back. The next time, me and my brother, the next time we decided to throw toys away, we threw them in the trash. We didn't throw them out the window. We learned the hard way, right? So we had to look back and realize that, hey, we made a mistake and we will never do that shit ever again. So I'm watching this Twilight Zone episode, right? Young Man's Fancy, Season 3, Episode 34. It's about this guy, this newlywed guy. He goes back to the home where he was born and raised in, right? His mother just passed, I think about a year prior. So he lost his mother, and he's going back to his home to gather some clothes, some items. And his wife is with him, his newlywed wife. She's with him, right? So they're at the house, and the minute he gets inside the house, he starts reminiscing on the past. And he has a beautiful wife right in front of him, right? They're about to go on their honeymoon. But he's not mentally prepared to move forward. So I'm looking at this, I'm watching this episode. I'm like, wow, this sounds familiar. This sounds familiar. One of the last conversations I had with my mom, right? One of the last times I spoke to my mom, which is almost a year ago. I said, Mom, you're scared that if you do your research on this religion, I'm your oldest son. I'm telling you to do your research. This is not what you think it is. I said to her, you're scared that if I'm right, then that means you wasted 40 years in this cult, in this religion. And she kept denying it. No, that's not it. I'm not scared, blah, blah, blah. Making excuse after excuse after excuse to not do her research. You know why? Because witnesses, they don't know how to look beyond. They don't know how to look beyond the watchtower. Just like this guy in this episode, this Twilight Zone episode, right? He had a beautiful wife. They was about to go on their honeymoon. The minute he walks inside of his home where he was born and raised, he decides to reminisce on the past. And it gets creepier, right? It gets creepier. The story gets creepier. But I'm saying to myself, I really can relate to this episode. And it's sad because when you leave the cult of Jehovah's Witnesses, right? You see things from a whole different perspective. All these witnesses, they're so happy now. They get to wear beards. The men get to wear beards. Females, sisters, women, they get to wear pants. But little do they know, there's a whole world ahead of them. There's a whole world outside of Watchtower. But they refuse to look ahead. They don't want to look ahead. They don't want to think outside the compounds of the Watchtower. They want to be trapped in. That's a choice. That's a choice to decide to not excel, to not transcend, to be stuck in the past. That's a choice. It's all up here. You can choose to move on if you want to. You can, just like any witness, any and every witness, if they really wanted to, they can wake up tomorrow like that, if they wanted to. Anyone and everyone can wake up. But they choose to be locked in. They choose to be lost in the source. So, going back to this Twilight Zone episode, this man, right? Once again, newlywed, he stopped at his old house where he was born and raised. He's about to, gather some stuff, and him and his wife, they're planning to go on their honeymoon. So the wife noticed that he's reminiscing. She said, "Baby, can you get your stuff so we could get out of here, please? We got a honeymoon to go to." And he goes upstairs, right? Instead of gathering his belongings, he opens up a damn toy chest. Looking at toys, old pictures. He's like really reminiscing now. And he's talking about his mom. So my mom used to make me brownies. She used to make me fudge brownies. I miss my mom. I miss this place. And she's like, okay, I understand. I appreciate that you miss her. I appreciate you was born and raised in this house. But we have a future together. We just got married. Let's go on this honeymoon. Gather your stuff. So when she said that, right, I'm like, all the Jehovah's Witnesses, I understand. I can comprehend. I have empathy for them, right? A lot of them, most of them, they invested their entire life to this organization. Going out in service, preparing for the meetings. Literally, everything that they've done was for this organization. But the proof is in the pudding. It is clear more than ever that we are living in the final part. I'm joking. But it's clear more than ever that this is not the true religion. That this is a cult. This is a man-made religion. It's clear more so now than ever. So even though they invested all that time out in service, all that time preparing for the meetings, even though that they really believed that this was the truth, they believe it. If the proof is in the pudding, if these men, their leaders, are telling them we're not inspired by God, if they're constantly changing their doctrines, shouldn't common sense kick in? And shouldn't that encourage witnesses to do their research? But just like this guy in this Twilight Zone episode, right? He made a conscious decision to dwell on the past. He could have had a beautiful, bright future with his beautiful newlywed wife. All he had to do was pack his belongings and hit the road and head to that honeymoon. But instead, he decided to stay stuck in the past. Just like witnesses, they want to be stuck in the past. That is a choice. Remember, anyone and everyone could wake up if they wanted to. Nothing is holding them back. The governing body leaders, they're not putting a gun to their heads. Nothing is holding them back except for themselves. So going on with this Twilight Zone episode, at the end, as creepy as it sounds, right? And it gave me chills watching this. At the end, his deceased mother came back. And this man, I think he was in his 30s or 40s, right? But at the very end, the end of the episode, his mother came back from the dead, right? And he went back to a child form. He went back to, I think he was like the age of somewhere between 8 to 10. And the wife approached his mother, right? She said, "How dare you take away my son, my husband? How dare you take away? You took him away from me. We just got married. I want to be with him. How dare you do that?" That's what the wife said to the mother that came back from the dead, right? So the mother said, "Honey, this isn't my doing. This is him. This is what he wanted." I got chills when I watched that. I said, "Oh shit!" I said, "That's deep." Because you would think that the mother would come back from the dead, in a Twilight Zone plot twist type of way, that the mother wanted to come back from the dead and she was doing all this, right? It wasn't the mother. It was the son. It was the son. He decided to stay in the past. He had a whole future ahead of him. Just got married, the whole nine. Everything was put in place. Everything worked out in his favor if he wanted to. It could have worked out in his favor if he wanted to. But he decided at the end, he went back to a childhood form and his mother came back to life. And he pretty much told his wife, "I don't need you anymore. We're good. I don't need you anymore." He decided to stay stuck as a little boy. He went back physically as a child. He was physically a child at the end of the episode. And I said to myself, who would do that? Why would you want to go back in time and stay stuck as a little kid, eating fudge brownies and playing with toys? Or some Michael Jackson shit. A grown adult wanted to stay stuck with a child mind frame. Just like the witnesses. They want to stay stuck. They don't want to come to the conclusion, hey, maybe this is not the truth. Maybe this is not it. They want to be stuck in that watchtower perspective, that watchtower mentality. That is a choice. That is a choice that they're making. And that's sad. Like, I can't comprehend it. Honest to God, I can't comprehend how they literally have all the signs that's telling them this is not the truth. This is not it. But they make a conscious decision to stay stuck, to stay in that mindset that, oh, this is the truth. No, it's not the truth. It's not the truth. Just like that guy in that Twilight Zone episode. Like I said, everything was lined up for him. He had a wife. All he had to do was collect his clothes and head to that honeymoon. That's all he had to do. Just like Jehovah's Witnesses, all they have to do is do their research and they will see that this is not the truth. That's all you have to do. Do your research. You do your research one day of research. Well, you probably won't wake up in one day, but one day will incline you to keep doing more research, and in due time, you will eventually wake up. I don't get it. I honest to God don't get how witnesses are still lost in the sauce. But that's on them, because you believing in something with no valid proof that this is the true religion. No witness could ever say, hey, I have proof. No, you don't have proof. You have faith. But my question is, why would you have faith in something that's not, that you can't even prove is true. You can't even look out. You can't even look at outside material on the internet. That in itself should tell you that something is up. But once again, Jehovah's Witnesses, they rather stay stuck. Just like this guy in this Twilight Zone episode. He wanted to stay stuck in the past. He didn't want to move forward with his life. Jehovah's Witnesses, they don't want to move forward because they're scared. Oh, if this is not the truth, that means I invested all this time. I wasted all this time for nothing. I'm going to end this video on that note, but every Twilight Zone, most Twilight episodes I watch, I can compare them to the cult of Jehovah's Witnesses. Because just like there's a plot twist at every episode, Twilight Zone episode, there's a plot twist with this organization. New doctrines, new light, shit don't add up, stuff don't make sense. It don't make sense. None of this makes sense. But I'm praying and hoping that, unlike that guy in that Twilight Zone, I'm praying that Jehovah's Witnesses, unlike him, I'm praying that they don't stay stuck. Don't stay stuck. You want to advance. You want to excel. You want to do better. You want to make sure that what you believe in really is the truth. Because if it's not, just like that guy in that Twilight Zone episode, you're going to stay stuck in that mindset for the rest of your life. And your life is going to pass you by like that. See you guys later.